Morning, podcasters. Welcome to Going On Daily Live. I'm your host, Becky, here with Mr. Tony Jones. Good morning.
Great to be back with you. I am fighting a little bit of a cold like everybody else on the face of the planet. So if I have to go for my hanky, please excuse me.
That was me 2 weeks ago, just coughing away on the show, nose running. It is what it is, everyone has it. It's this change of seasons. Although, where are you? Where are you located? Rhode Island?
I'm in Rhode Island, yeah.
Okay, so when do you see spring to summer kind of thing? Or winter?
Supposedly, we're supposed to be seeing it now. It's more towards like Memorial Day-ish is when we officially, good weather starts to roll in. But we're going through yet another rainy season here, so.
You know what? We would take a rainy season because there are a lot of wildfires where I am. We are going camping this weekend. This is May long weekend for us. This is like a holiday weekend. And excuse me, it's fire ban. You can't have a fire pit. Wow. So that sucks. It's like the whole point of camping is to like roast marshmallows and sit around the fire. So
that is going to be a brutal hit to the s'mores industry. So my thoughts go out to them.
My thoughts go out to the marshmallow people. Yes. Oh, yeah. Well, we'll see what happens. We're going to bring a propane fire pit. Yeah. Ron says, and drink. Yeah. Naturally, that comes with the territory. But I mean, you want to sit around the fire. You want to have a drink. You want to have a marshmallow. If you can only do half of that, I don't know. It's not as fun. And it gets cold at night. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how it goes down. I'll tell everybody next week how it went. Maybe we'll just get like a whole bunch of rain over the next 3 days. All will be good. Hopefully, crossing my fingers. So let me tell everybody first, before we dive into today's show, where they can find us live. So first off, you can find us on Facebook at RI Broadcasting, or you can just type in Rhode Island Broadcasting into the search bar. You can watch with 10,000 other people there. Now, of course, if you're watching there, please support our show with stars. We would really appreciate that. You can head on over to YouTube at Rhode Island Broadcasting. You can subscribe, hit the little bell over there. And finally, you can watch us live on Twitch at RI_broadcasting, where, you know what I like about Twitch is that you can close out of the app and it still play in the bottom and you can go about and do things where you can't do that on YouTube, and you definitely can't do that on Facebook. So Twitch is my new favorite place to watch. Again, RI_broadcasting, and you can support the show with bits over there. Finally, if you were looking for us on socials, you can find us on pretty much every social, MeWe, whatever that is, TikTok, Instagram, Space, Hey, Blue Sky, X, Twitter, and then, of course, on Patreon at RI Broadcasting. You can get yourself some swag from there. So let's dive into it here. Today is season 2, episode 89. The Search is Over is the title of today's show. Why don't you take us off with the story about Weight Watchers?
You know, I am coming at this in two means. As someone who's interested in health and fitness, but also, unfortunately, as you'll see in a second, as a Weight Watchers stockholder, which means that I have some interesting things coming down the pipeline because it is looking like it's heading towards bankruptcy, which it's always interesting to me when I see, they're going to file for protection, it looks like pretty soon. So it's always interesting when I see those companies where I'm used to seeing, you know, at one point, I don't know about your neck of the woods, but down here, there was a Weight Watchers little setup in all the strip malls. You know, it was like a ubiquitous brand. They, like lots of companies, took a sizable hit during the pandemic, which I'm nervous even mentioning the word pandemic because I'm afraid that's going to ruin our algorithm here. So I apologize in advance for that. But they had that little pandemic boost where people coming out of the pandemic thought about, I gained some COVID-19 weight. I'm going to look at what tools are out there to kind of get lean. So in 2020, they were back doing $1.4 billion a year in revenue. So
yeah, I would think that they'd be doing very well, you know, just kind of after 2020, because I don't know, like the rest of them, I definitely started to put on the weight. Stress, being at home, not being able to do anything. Fast foods was open, liquor stores were open, nothing else was open.
And there was a lot of poor souls out there doing delivery as kind of stopgap jobs in the meantime. So all of a sudden, those Instacarts and things like that, people kind of started coming front of mind during the pandemic, where
very convenient to get your food
right.
delivered.
It's hot. And you just think about that for a second. Think about our ancestors out there in caves hunting woolly mammoths, and we're sitting here, and not only can I get food from McDonald's, but if I want something from McDonald's and Burger King and any other fast food joint, it'll all come at the same time. It'll be on my doorstep. I don't even have to look at the guy and leave him a tip and shake his hand. It's just going to be sitting out there waiting for me.
Yeah, literally.
So just think about that for a second.
Yes, our ancestors would be very disappointed with where we've come.
And just to back that up, so Oprah got out of Weight Watchers a little before 2020. And that made people nervous to see Oprah hitting the bricks.
I wonder why she did. Did she say why she cut ties?
I think at that point she was kind of divesting in a bunch of different things. So Oprah doesn't, and I'm just ashamed of the fact that I know this, but Oprah doesn't even actually own the Oprah network anymore. She divested some of that branding, and she was just kind of getting out of a few different things, which, by the way, if you don't follow Stedman Graham, who is Oprah's partner, he has some fantastic leadership content out there and leadership books out there. If you're kind of wondering a little bit about this guy that's been with Oprah for all these years and kind of been that steadfast partner, but kind of in the background, he has some of his own interesting stuff going.
Oh, cool. I had no idea. I just thought he was a kept man. Your wife's a billionaire?
Right?
Your wife's a billionaire? You think you're writing a book? Nah.
He's out there hustling anyway.
Yeah, right? Well, good for him.
So then the pandemic hits for Weight Watchers. They're doing well. They're making billions, peak subscribers during the coming out of the pandemic. And then like in business and capitalism, the other companies start to notice, Noom and MyFitnessPal and Free Fitness, various free fitness platforms. They're deciding, oh, wait, we can do this too. And because Weight Watchers is a legacy brand, we might be able to do it a little bit better on the digital front. Yeah. So all these other companies started getting into the space. So they go to 2022, their digital push falls flat. They start losing folks left and right, paying subscribers. Oh, no. Shares fall 60%, which I guess is probably when I should have personally sold, but I'm still in there with Weight Watchers. And then that continues 2023, 2024, people start discovering GLP-1s, Ozempic, Wegovy, all those things you can think of. And now you have to do a little bit less work in order to lose weight. So with, Weight Watchers, you're expected to weigh in, you're expected to be involved in a community.
Measure your food, take accountability for the food you're eating.
You gotta pay attention.
Not now.
GLP-1s come out, folks can get them pretty quickly, and it's just the injection. You do have to watch your diet a little bit, but it's not quite as labor intensive as what Weight Watchers is and Weight Watchers was. So it's looking like from 2018, they had that $1.5 billion. Oprah gets out. Fast forward to 2024, they lost 3 million subscribers, and they're down to under $700 million, which of course sounds like a lot of money, but not when you're a company up in the billions. No. And it looks like a little bit later this week, even though they're trying some different things, gamification, different things on the Weight Watchers app, it looks like they are going to be filing for bankruptcy protection as soon as we know it. So if you're a Weight Watchers stockholder like me,
jump ship.
Yeah, no, time to maybe get some fast food stocks instead, because people are having GLP-1s and just chowing down on that stuff.
Yeah, having some Ozempic stocks. Well, okay, so I get the concept of Weight Watchers. I do. It's tracking, basically. You really can do that on anything now. It's a lot broader than like tracking your macros, for example. You're not breaking it down into your carbs, your protein, your fats, whatever. It's a point system, right? So it's like you have 5 points a day for this, you have 2 points a day for that. And when you use them, you're done for the day. So, I mean, you can go ahead and eat a piece of cake if you want, but then you've lost a lot of your points. So now you're starving. I actually don't necessarily agree with that. And I have a girlfriend who tracks macros, but she often will start her day off with something bad. And then she's like, oh, I can't eat anything else today. I guess I'll just have dry lettuce. And I'm like, no, like macros is great. Point system is great if you're following it, if you're giving yourself that balance throughout your meals and not just stuffing your face with cake for the first meal and then eating air for the next two. So,
or even to that point, people will stop borrowing against their points for the next day. So now I'm going to have a piece of cheesecake today and not eat for the next 2 days because they are trying to stay in being assigned those points. The concept itself, yeah, it made a lot more sense when people didn't have access to all that information. You know, they come from a time where there wasn't even nutrition facts on the back of food in the grocery store. So that point system made sense, but they seem to have not moved along with the times. Even though they did make those digital efforts, they didn't quite understand it.
So my parents are early 60s, and I was talking to my mom recently, and she was saying, like, you never thought about what food was bad for you when she was growing up. And the thing is too, there wasn't obese people when she was growing up either. She said, you know, you just had the orange juice because you didn't think there was 8 other ingredients in it. It was just oranges squeezed in. You know, you just ate the butter. You didn't even know what margarine was. And I remember growing up on margarine because there was that push in the 80s and 90s to fat-free everything, right? Or low-fat everything, or synthetic foods, because real foods are bad for you. So it's just interesting how it went, like, you know, it was here and then it dropped and then it's coming back up again. People, you know, and that's the thing about the pandemic, it really opened up people's minds to, hey, what's actually going on? Like, maybe it's not just the pharmaceutical industry that's controlling us. Maybe the food industry is controlling us. Maybe there's propaganda out there. Maybe I've been lied to. Maybe all this health food, even listed on like the American Heart Association website, heart food is actually not that great for me. So, yeah, what was Ron saying? There wasn't that many ingredients. Yeah, you're right. There probably wasn't that many preservatives, food dyes, additives, filler, things like that. It probably was whole ingredients. And so for anyone that says, oh, there's no correlation to like how people are sick these days and our food, like, they've got their head in the sand, because, you know, why are young people getting sick when, you know, like, let's say for me, I had cancer at 36 years old. Like, why is a young person getting sick when, like, normally that's an old person disease, you know? It's because, you know, well, traumas and things like that, life experiences, but a lot of the time it's like the crap that we're putting into our bodies. So
yeah, there's a big uptick for guys now with prostate cancer who are getting prostate cancer in their late 20s, early 30s. They probably don't even know what a prostate is yet. That was an man problem, and now it's in the 20s and 30s. It's crazy.
And not to mention the hike in colon cancers, and that has to be a direct correlation to food. Like, you put it in, it's coming out. Okay, it's going through somewhere. So yeah, it's awful, and people aren't realizing it. I mean, there's a lot of factors that contribute to this, but you know, my problem with places like Weight Watchers is that I don't know if they're giving the education about, you know, things that you shouldn't be eating. Like, there's a big push, even in the nutritional world, to don't have sugar, but you have sweetener. So it's like, I don't know. Is it any better than sugar to have aspartame or sucralose? Like, I don't think you're doing yourself much favors. So I just don't think that Weight Watchers was giving that same sort of piece. Now, I think, like, if you want to be successful in weight loss, it has to be whole foods. It has to be consistency. It has to be like, get your head away from, you know, the temptations, but also understand that you're a human too. And like, you're going to want those temptations on occasion. You can't like limit yourself to, you know, one piece of cake and then I don't eat for 4 days. Like, that's just not right.
And I don't think a lot of the providers are explaining to people when they prescribe the GLP-1s that you will have to take this possibly for the rest of your life. So people are spending $400, $500, $600 a month because they have to buy out of pocket if they're not fitting into
what, for Ozempic?
And Ozempic's even in the thousands. And I don't think people realize that this is going to be a lifelong commitment. So I think there's going to be a lot to that to still come down the pipeline.
For sure. So I recently was talking to my doctor and he gave me a prescription for Ozempic. And I'm not, like, don't get me wrong, I have about 30 pounds to lose, just the weight I put on after chemo. And he was like, yeah, I think Ozempic would be a really good fit for you. And I'm like, okay. And I'm pretty crunchy, right? Like, I'm sitting here taking all my supplements this morning as you're talking, you know, like, I don't like to put in a lot of chemicals, especially post chemo. I don't like to put chemicals into my body. So anyway, I took the prescription just because he gave it to me. And I asked the pharmacist, okay, what is this going to cost? And he goes, it's going to be $460 a month. And this is for the smallest dose. I said, $460 a month. And he said, and your benefits plan, your insurance will not cover it. I'm like, what? Why? Well, because you don't have diabetes. I'm like, dang, like that's something. Like that's commitment to pay $500 a month for this thing that, potentially could actually hurt you. Now, I did a podcast on my own show with a nurse practitioner out of Colorado who runs a GLP-1 clinic, and she disagrees with, the horror stories. But I mean, it's like anything. You take anything, there could be a side effect. But at the end of the day, like you're right. If you're going to be on this for the rest of your life, your body's going to become dependent on it. Who knows what's going to happen to your pancreas and your blood sugar from taking this all the time. Yeah, GLP-1 is a natural thing inside your body, yet we're putting in something synthetic to replicate it. So I don't know. This whole craze is wild. Realistically, just food prep and be strict on your diet and go for walks, and you should be okay.
And the GLP-1s added with, the fact that you are going to need to work out during that. So now add your gym membership, whatever that may be, and whatever supplements you need.
Yeah.
Like having a spread.
Yeah, literally. Like that's what I'm thinking. Like if you just spend money on like clean groceries and a gym membership or, some good running shoes or whatever, you're probably still cheaper or at least about the same as Ozempic. And at least you're doing something good for your body. I actually had a couple of articles saved that I was going to do my topics on Ozempic, and I just haven't got to it yet. So maybe I'll do that next time. Maybe with JJ on Thursday, I'll do it. I'll talk about Ozempic. And don't get me wrong, like I'm not judging anybody who's on it. More power to you. I've done all kinds of things in the name of weight loss. But I don't know. I just don't think it's the best choice for people. Well, what do I know? I don't know anything about anything.
Yeah, there'll be a lot coming down the pipeline.
I think so. When I was in Mexico for cancer treatment, my doctor said people have no idea what they're doing by taking this. Because in Tijuana, you go to any pharmacy on the side, there's a sign, Ozempic sold here. You can just go buy it. Cheap, black market stuff. But he's like, you have no idea what's going to happen by taking it all the time. And I've had friends get sick from taking it. So, it sort of swayed my mind the opposite way. I'll just take all my supplements, help my body heal, and go from there.
And the GLP-1 clinics, and we don't have to stay on this for too much longer, but they're slotted for 15 minutes per person that they're seeing. There is no world where that provider can explain to that person in 15 minutes and do the prescription and all that stuff what the actual commitment is as far as your health goes.
Yes. Okay. So then now that you're saying that, not that I'm trying to push my own show by any means, although Ron tells me I always should, go to Two Girls Without Cancer. We're on Spotify and YouTube and Rumble. The episode is number 8, season 2, episode 8. Did she say Ozempic? And it's me just interviewing this nurse practitioner from Colorado, talking to her about Ozempic. So if you have questions about it, I mean, granted, she's pro. I left that interview going, maybe it's not bad for you. I don't know. It's your call, I guess. Whatever you think. Anyways, we could talk on this all day. We're already 20 minutes into it, and we've done one topic. So let me get into my topic here. Oh, it's also on Rhode Island Broadcasting. Yes, you're right, Ron. My show, Two Girls Without Cancer, is on Rhode Island Broadcasting. So go to Rhode Island Broadcasting on YouTube and Facebook and find it there. Season 2, episode 8. All right. So next topic here. Apparently, the USA is sinking. Did you know?
Well, when I walk out my door, I can see the ocean, and it's getting alarmingly closer by the year. So,
is it really? Okay, well, it's cool. You can see the ocean. I mean, I'd be scared of do you guys get tsunamis on the Atlantic?
We get hurricanes.
Okay.
We get hurricanes, but yeah.
And so you guys get affected even all the way up north, eh?
And then the moon tides too. It kind of rolls in a little bit. There's some places that get a little trash during the tides.
Yeah, that makes sense. You need to come to Canada, where there is there is an ocean in Canada on both sides, but not where I live anyway. We are landlocked. No worries about hurricanes up here. So, your country's biggest cities are sinking, according to data from a new study. Known scientifically as land subsidence, the most common cause of sinking is massive ongoing groundwater extraction, though other forces are at work in some of these places. The cities aren't just coastal either. Where the sea level rise is a concern, but many are actually in the interior. Ron says he's been saying this for years. Okay, if you guys had to guess what, 2, 3 cities are sinking, what would you say?
New York definitely has to be on the list. And then having been to San Diego a few times on the West Coast, I'm thinking that could be a potential candidate. And then their San Diego airport is right on the water too. So that can't be good because our airport in Rhode Island is right on the water. So there's 2 underwater airports.
Yeah, right. Like, good luck having people fly out of there. And I've actually been to San Diego airport a couple times because I've been down to Tijuana a couple times. And yeah, you're right. It's just right there.
Yeah.
So we'll get to the cities here shortly, but it's saying that in every city that was studied, at least 20% of the urban area is sinking. And in 25 of the 28 cities that they studied, at least 65% of them are sinking. That's huge. That's absolutely huge. Now, this was a unique study. They say that this is the first high-resolution satellite-based measurement of land subsidence. Sorry, I read that wrong. Across 28 of the most populous U.S. cities, and for several of these cities, it's the first time we have such detailed insights. Now, that is a direct quote from the study lead. His name is Leonard Owenhen of the Lamont Doherty Earth Observatory. And that was just this week that he came out saying this. He also added that the study offers critical information for urban planning, infrastructure adaptation, and hazard preparedness. Now, I'm thinking if it's sinking, like if they're going to go in water or whatever, maybe we need to have more cities set up like where am I thinking of here? Where am I thinking? I did a podcast on this in Italy, Venice.
Venice, yeah.
Yeah, where
although they're having some issues with that.
Oh yeah, they're sinking as well.
Yeah, so
under like someone in our in our group here, maybe Martin, maybe Ron sent a picture of what it looks like under Venice with all of these structures. It's fascinating. It would have to be because water obviously is going to break down wood over time, but it is, yeah, it must have been Martin. Yeah, it's amazing. Anyway, so the fastest sinking city, this is where we're talking about here. So the nation's fastest sinking city is Houston, also on the water, is it not? Houston? I think it's on the Gulf, right? More than 40% of its area is dropping more than 5 millimeters per year. So that's a metric term in imperial. That's 1/5 of an inch. Now, doesn't seem like a lot, if this is an inch, a fifth is about this. But I mean, over time, we're probably not going to see it in our lifetime, but maybe our kids or our grandkids' lifetime, maybe is going to see some issues here. 12% is sinking at twice that rate. So, there are parts of Houston that are going 2/5 of an inch. Is that how you say it? 2/5 of an inch. So 40% of an inch. Some localized spots are going down as much as 2 inches per year, said the study. Wow. Now, 2 other Texas cities are not far behind, and that's Fort Worth and Dallas. Crazy. So not a good time to move to Texas, like I keep saying I'm going to do. So maybe I don't move to Houston.
And this ties in perfectly to our former subject, because at least with more people on GLP-1s, there's less heavy people walking the earth, keeping us from sinking into the water. It's perfect.
Listen, America, this is a reason to get less fat, okay? Because your cities are sinking into the ocean.
It's funny because Providence, Rhode Island the downtown area is loosely based on Venice. So the water runs right through the city up to Providence Place Mall, almost up to the State House. And there's a small contingent of gondolas down there. And there's maps that show that whole downtown area underwater. And there's a bunch of little touristy areas here in Rhode Island, and then nearby Connecticut, Mystic, Connecticut. There's a bunch of maps that show all that underwater, but it makes sense because it's on the coastline. But when you see places that are a little farther inland and they're also looking to be underwater, that's a cause for concern.
Like Houston makes sense. It's on water, but Dallas is a lot more inland. So, I mean, it must be on the same sort of path as Houston. But yeah, that's crazy. So, what their researchers are saying that subsidence is often called an invisible threat because it does go unnoticed for long periods of time. In the study, they are trying to make it less invisible. They're trying to bring awareness to it. Now, there's nothing like scaring the population, right? But I think it's important that they do talk about it. You say when the land shifts downward, even just a little bit, the structural integrity of buildings, roads, bridges, and dams are profoundly impacted, which is obviously the issue, right? Like you don't want a dam dropping by any means, right? You don't want to have that breaking by any means. So this fellow that we were talking about, Owen Henn, the researcher, he told USA Today that some early warning signs are often overlooked, but they include cracks in walls, foundations around windows and doors, uneven or sloping floors, doors and windows that no longer close properly, warped roads, buckling pavement, tilting fences or utility poles, fire hydrants sticking out more than they once did. That's interesting because I feel like that's everywhere where I live.
Yeah, that's pretty normal here in Rhode
Yeah.
Island.
Like any winter, like it's hard to close the door. There's some resistance. Then it goes back because it's cold and it's hot and it's cold and it's hot. Ron is saying soil, water basins, weight of the buildings, and how much rain you get are all factors. 100%. 100%. So anyway,
Subsidence sounds so nice compared to just telling people, bro, you're sinking.
yeah, you're literally sinking. So I'll just go to the end of this here. Oh, what else is saying? On the map, why do some cities show uplift instead of sinking? Okay, interesting. So on the map, 3 cities have green dots indicating uplift. Why is this? The uplift we detect is an average across the city and 0.1 to 0.3 millimeters per year. So that's very, very tiny, which is almost negligible. He said, we can't just say 0 millimeters per year. So on average, it's stable. It does not mean the entire city is rising uniformly. And that was San Jose, Memphis, and Jacksonville. So like of 0.1 of a millimeter, it's like a hair, like as thin as a hair. It's crazy that they can even quantify such a measurement. But anyway, so this is the final thought on this one. What does it mean? Basically. So this is a direct quote again. He says, a lot of small changes will build up over time, magnifying weak spots within urban systems and heighten flood risks. This subsidence can produce stresses on infrastructure that will go past their safety limit. Now, I'm thinking places that have a lot of high rises. You don't want to be up on the 50th floor when this is starting to happen. Yes, Ron, infrastructure breakdown. You don't want to be on the 50th floor when infrastructure decides to go. The researchers also say that the continued population growth and water usage combined with climate-induced droughts in some areas will likely worsen subsidence over time. As opposed to just saying it's a problem, we can respond, address, mitigate, and adapt. So we have to move to solutions. So, I mean, I guess it's good that they're on it. What they can do, I mean, really, how do you move millions of people? How do you tell millions of people, hey, don't have water? Don't use so much water. Don't be less fat, be less populated. Like you can't. I don't know. I don't know how they're going to do it. Like Dallas and Houston are huge cities. I don't know what they're possibly going to do to mitigate it, like he says. So.
And there, of course, like we have here in Florida, when storms come through, and New Orleans, when floods come through, there are people that will just refuse to leave, and they're going to anyway. So.
I know. I don't understand that. Yes, I get it. You probably don't have insurance. I get it. All your life is there. It sucks. But like, do you want to die in your home or do you want a chance to survive and start over? It sucks. And I mean, I feel like you knew what the risks were of living in Florida. Anyway.
Now, myself as a science fiction fan, I have to believe that this is somehow Godzilla related. And because Godzilla is digging around under the earth, it's making everything sink down.
Naturally. Or like the Titans, if you're like Greek mythology or any mythology fan, is the Titans. They're underground. They're ready to get out. Yeah, maybe. I love it.
And we're just trashing all the algorithms today.
Yeah, that's right. Well, classic Becky here. I like you're not, you're fairly new to the podcast, so you don't know. Like in 2020, I was very outspoken. COVID, the American politics, things like that. I got like majorly shadow banned. I had several Instagram accounts of thousands of followers shut down. I couldn't even sign up again for Instagram. I had to make new email addresses on different IP addresses, create new accounts just so I could open it. They even like a couple days before the 2020 election, my Facebook got shut down, my Instagram got shut down, my banking got logged into, like everything was wild. And since then, I've been in like major shadow ban jail for 5 years. Like I feel like people are over it, but no.
Yeah, maybe your punishment, maybe it was a 5-year sentence and your punishment's almost over.
Gosh, I hope so. Like my co-host, she has thousands and thousands of followers, and she's like, I don't understand like why our videos aren't getting views. I'm like, it's because I'm here. Because in 2020, I didn't accept COVID. Like this is why. So anyway,
I like to base it on the amount of people that are trolling me. So I have a love-hate relationship with the algorithms. Sometimes they love me, and I get hundreds and thousands of organic views, and sometimes they hate me. And I can know how well I'm doing depending on the amount of people that are trolling me. So that is the top metric as far as I'm concerned.
Who even like understands the algorithm though, honestly? It's like you can do one thing. Like my friend, my co-host got millions of views because of some video where she's literally just pouring salt into a container. Like who wants to even watch that? But apparently millions of people. So I don't know. I don't understand the algorithm. Speaking of algorithms, let's talk about Google searches. This has to play into it.
Yeah, and this is a little gruesome. So I guess maybe if you're not a true crime type person,
I am.
You might want to hang out somewhere else for a couple minutes or hop on the treadmill this started because
put your earmuffs on.
Almost everybody in New England is following this Karen Reed trial, whether they want to or not, because if there's a slow news day, it's the only thing going on. So she Googled, and I don't know what's more embarrassing, that it was an autocorrect fail, but she Googled, how long does it take to die in cold? And that's what made me think about Google searches that have gotten people in trouble, because listen, if you're using an incognito window and you think that you're looking at these things and it's untraceable, and you're using DuckDuckGo and a bunch of these services, that is not true. So you have to, well, first of all, maybe don't kill people and look up the information. That's probably the first caveat.
Yeah, literally. But, I know. You always watch this true crime and it's like, oh, someone searched it up at the library at 12 p.m. Oh, let's just take a camera to the library. Oh, it's our suspect. How to kill someone with, I don't know, formaldehyde, whatever. People are so
dumb. And that's one on my list. So back in 2008 in Florida, Casey Anthony Googled chloroform. That wasn't enough. So she Googled how to make chloroform afterwards on her own. Now, this is 2008. I can assume people didn't understand as much about incognito windows and how not to get caught. But she looked that up on a regular Google search, just, at a regular time.
But let's put it this way. Ain't nobody out there need to know the recipe for chloroform, okay? There's no, wholesome reason why you need to know how to make that.
Yeah, it's not even like you could back it up and say, oh, I was just looking it up because I'm helping my kid with a science project. There's no way around.
No, it's sinister for sure.
As if chloroform wasn't enough, she also at that time, a few days later, Googled neck breaking, which as a wrestling fan, I have looked up how to do a neck breaker as a wrestling move. Now, I'm afraid that could set up some red flags, but it was for that, not for what Casey Anthony was looking at.
Yeah, exactly. So, wow, Casey, dang.
Yeah. And like I said, just in a regular Google Chrome, no incognito window, no trying to hide it, just in 2008, simpler times.
Simpler times. We had no idea that people could watch you. This is like when Snapchat came out and people are like, I can send naked photos of myself
Yeah,
because it
nobody will see
disappears.
this.
Meanwhile, there's like a Snapchat database of all your titty pics. So yeah, we learned our lessons.
You don't want to see my titty pics. They fold out like a roadmap. Now, Karen Reed was in Massachusetts. Massachusetts seems to be a hotbed for this. So in 2023, Brian Walsh looked up on a regular Google search, which led to his eventual conviction. Can you be charged with murder without a body? Inquiring minds want to know.
I mean, that I do feel like someone out of curiosity could look that up because can you be charged without? I'm curious myself. However, I'm also not the suspect in a murder, so.
Yeah, there's a difference between looking that up because you just watched an interesting documentary and looking it up because you are currently trying to dispose of a body.
Suspect number one. Don't do it, Becky. No, I'm not going to. I'm very careful with what I Google because you never know. I don't want to be in trouble for something I didn't do.
If you're already shadow banned, it seems like you could just Google whatever you want. I mean, you're in the clear now.
I feel like the NSA is just watching my every move.
This is this is the last one I have, and this is kind of a little bit, if I can say a favorite one. This is my favorite one. In 2018 in Colorado, Chris Watts freshly unalived his wife and immediately began Googling places to go on vacation with his mistress. So he starts doing research on where to go on vacation. You know, am I going to head to the Florida Keys with the mistress? Because
why would you type in with the mistress? Places for vacation. Cool. Anyone could go on vacation. No, you with your mistress after your wife just mysteriously died. Pretty suspicious.
And if you are, do not have a wife anymore, you don't even need to mention that the mistress is involved because the mistress, I guess, is no longer a mistress.
Yeah, she's just a girlfriend. Yeah. What an idiot. And so did he get caught? He obviously did.
Yeah, he got caught and they used that to prove the premeditation because he was planning this whole time, as soon as I get rid of my wife, Sharon, how am I gonna, what's the next step? So I'm gonna have some fun going forward.
Like, surely these criminals have seen a true crime documentary. They must know what to look for and what not to do. And yet here I am shocked by some of these things that you're telling me.
And there are more gruesome ones that I didn't think were appropriate for our time together today. But if you're interested in this subject and you do some research, people have Googled and just on their own personal computer or on their own personal phone in a regular browser, some gruesome, nasty things. And are they idiots? Are they there's a certain psychological frame of thought that they're trying to get caught and they know that this is going to
Yeah, maybe. Never thought of that, but yeah, you're totally right.
Not the brightest criminals.
Or just dumb, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah, who knows? I feel like the smart criminals, they're not even going on the computer. They know better.
Yeah.
But wow. Okay, that was good. I liked that one. I like a dark, dumb story. So thank you for that. Okay, so I don't know if you know, I'm not sure if you've seen like a lot of shows that I've been on, but I always go off about AI. I hate AI. I think like you probably love it. I feel like you're a guy who loves AI. I hate it.
I'm mixed on it now because oddly enough, on this subject, I consulted on an AI app that was for counseling and it did not go well. The AI was not a productive member of the team. So I have seen this firsthand.
Yeah. And it's funny that you're saying that because I've talked about this on the show before. So I have friends who talk to ChatGPT all the time. They go to counseling through ChatGPT and, they're trying to figure out relationships with their husband, their boyfriends, whatever. And they go, well, ChatGPT told me, and I'm like, okay, I'm just listening to it. I'm not saying anything. And then finally, like last week, the one was like, well, ChatGPT said, and I was like, ChatGPT is not a human. They've never had a relationship. They don't have a spirit. They don't have a soul. They can't understand what a connection between a man and a woman is. So like it's giving you this advice because she was like, oh, I didn't like the answer that ChatGPT gave me. Like, because it's not a human being. Like it can't, yes, it's unbiased, but like, is it unbiased? I don't know. AI freaks me out because they pretend to be unbiased or like under this umbrella of no, we're just robots. But like, I don't know, it could literally sway any vulnerable population because oh, it's unbiased, it would never give me the wrong answer. But at the end of the day, like how does it know what your relationship is like with another human being?
And there are some fresh studies out that show that people are developing these parasocial relationships with ChatGPT. Their brains don't know the difference between this being a friend and being a tool.
Yes. And so she said she just felt this like aha moment last week where it was like there's a blockage here and it's probably your relationship with your phone, your chat GBT,
Yeah.
GPT. I don't know, it's weird. So anyway, I don't love AI. I've never downloaded chat GPT. I don't intend to, even though I like convenience, but like I'm not going to. So in China, they have just come up with the first AI hospital. 14 robotic doctors. They're calling it the future of medicine. You know how China is. But so China's opened the world's first fully AI powered hospital staffed by 14 artificial intelligence, and they go, doctors capable of diagnosing, treating, and managing up to 10,000 virtual patients a day. Now, I don't understand when it says virtual patients because is that like someone's calling in? We're having a computer call and then they're doing it because why would you need a hospital for this? So anyway, this revolutionary facility is developed by Tsinghua University. It's called the Smart Hospital of the Future, and it may actually represent the most advanced experiments in AI-driven medicine the world has ever seen. That absolutely freaks me out, but okay. It was like just designed as a test bed for AI medical systems, but the hospital is now blending robotics, machine learning, natural language processing, and big data analytics to stimulate full spectrum care at lightning speed with zero fatigue. That's what is getting people excited about this. There's zero fatigue and no paperwork errors and real-time updates from global medical databases. Okay, so yes, I do understand this. I understand fatigue is a really real thing. Errors, human error is a real thing. But like a robot, I'm very apprehensive about this. It says that many hospitals around the world are integrating AI tools into diagnostics and administration, of course. Yes, if it makes life a little easier. Yes, okay, I understand that. But China's AI hospital is unique because it operates with fully autonomous physicians, 14 of them, like we said. It simulates clinical workflows from patient intake to diagnosis, prescription, and mental health support, processes over 10,000 virtual patients a day, learns and adapts continuously from real world patient data and case studies, and offers nonstop 24/7 service without human fatigue or bias. Now, they can also do routine diagnostic checks like a CT scan, blood tests. Like, I can't imagine this thing doing a blood test on me. How does it feel around for my veins? It can do chronic disease management, like for diabetes and hypertension. So I don't know, I assume that's not counseling. Is that just prescription taking? I don't know. Mental health consultations, like via emotion recognition and therapeutic algorithms. And like we're saying, like, I don't think without having like a soul, like, I just don't feel like they can have that connection. I went to school to be a counselor. There's something about being an empath that it takes to be able to counsel someone, right? Especially a vulnerable population like someone with mental health issues. I don't know. And of course, medical decision making simulations where outcomes are measured against existing treatment standards. So this is how it's going to work. The hospital runs on a powerful AI medical engine trained on millions of clinical records, imaging data sets, symptom logs, and pharmacological interactions. Each AI doctor, I love that, specializes in a domain such as cardiology, oncology, neurology, psychiatry. I wouldn't want a doctor treating me for cancer. That's for sure. I liked that I had a human doctor for oncology. I had a few human doctors, and I liked the connection that we had, you know? So these people with their, or people, these robots with their specialized, I know, these doctors that specialize, their information is constantly being updated with new medical literature, drug recalls, diagnostic protocols. So, I mean, that's cool to be able to just have all of the information at one time. It's not like you have to go home and do research on it, or, you know, you missed that day in medical school because you were sleeping, whatever. You know, it's cool that you have all that information, but it's still a doctor that is a robot, and I don't like it. Becky calling AI. I know, I'm sorry, it was an accident, Ron. So patients are simulated through software mimicking symptom progression, comorbidities, genetic predispositions, and even emotional stress levels. These digital patients interact with the AI through voice or text, receiving personalized care recommendations in seconds. Human oversight is still required for now, of course, especially in edge cases or ethical dilemmas, but the goal is to build trust, safety, and reliability into AI-driven healthcare frameworks. So some of these benefits are speed, of course, accuracy, multilingual and accessible, no clerical mistakes, and a global knowledge. But the limitations, I'm glad that they're talking about this, lack of empathy, like we just said. Data privacy. So when it's handling millions of health records, it raises concerns about patient privacy, consent, and security. Trust, of course. How are we going to trust a doctor? I've seen iRobot. I've seen Terminator. Okay, there's no trust for me, right? Displacement of human roles, of course. Do you ever watch South Park, or have you ever watched South Park? Back in the day, they were mad. They took our jobs. Now, can you imagine the AI version of that? And then, of course, bias and algorithms, meaning it's only as good as the data, you know, that it's trained on. So if that data is biased, then, you know, if it's like geographically biased, racially biased, socioeconomically, then the robots are going to have this bias as well, because nothing is completely impartial, because someone had to input that data. So it's not 100% impartial. So I'm thinking of my friend asking ChatGPT to counsel her on her boyfriend situation, and it was giving her answers she didn't like. Why? Because it was telling her you shouldn't be with this person anymore. Well, that's bias. Anyway, I don't like it. You can tell I don't like it. I'm getting all fired up just thinking about it. I see the advantages. However, I do not trust robots, nor do I want one caring for me. Not when you're going through something like, okay, again, I'm just taking cancer because it's the only thing I know. Like, I wanted to feel like a human, and that a human cared about me, that a doctor went to school for 20 years to be able to treat cancer so that people like me could get better. You know, that's how I wanted to feel, is that I wasn't just some freak who was sick, that there was people out there who loved and cared about me. I just don't think that you're going to get that from AI. And like, also, how are these things going to look? Are they going to look like iRobot because I'm out?
I think it is just the thing that kind of floats around, and there's an iPad on it. But there's a few things that come to mind for me, in that the fact that it needs to be just like when it's used for customer service, it needs to be disclosed right away. So you, as a potential patient, log into that telehealth account, and it asks you, do you want to talk to an AI? Yes or no? And it starts with that, because there are situations where people aren't even aware that they're interacting with AI, and they're wondering why they're getting such funky stuff. Now, I also think about the other side of that, and ourselves as people with advanced degrees. Imagine being a person who just works their butt off to get an advanced degree, and now your job is just to sit and watch over AI programs all day. Like, what a waste of time and money. I'm thinking that I just blew all that time for no reason, because I'm just going to watch over the AI dude, and he's going to do the work all day.
This is what I'm saying. You went to school for 20 years to be an oncologist or an oncology surgeon or something, and now just for a robot to come in and take your job. That's what I'm saying. South Park was on something. They took our jobs, 100%.
Now, on the positive side, I don't know if there's a provider shortage in your neck of the woods, but in America there is.
Yes,
and
100%.
New England is in a painful provider shortage. So if that could be used as a tool to funnel the lady with the hangnail from not getting directly to the provider and getting her help, I can see the positive there. And especially, I had this exact problem. I was supposed to be with you guys last Thursday, 8 a.m. appointment. We do this at 10 o'clock. I'm thinking in and out of my doctor's appointment. Right. I can be home for 10 o'clock. They had a problem with the electronic medical records server. Oh, no. So would it be a true triage situation if now you have 10,000 patients relying on this AI and it gets hacked or it goes down and there's no people providers out there to then take care of it?
Exactly. I mean, there is something to say for paper records. Now everything is changing to medical online records, right? But there is definitely something, to say that paper records are important, to have that still. I mean, it's bulky, but it doesn't crash. That's for sure. There definitely needs to be like some sort of triage system. You're right, for the hangnail lady. So if AI could optimize that to make triage a little bit better, but again, it could be biased. Let's say it's a nasty hangnail that caused major infection and it's sepsis and blah, blah, blah. You're going to lose your finger. But what AI hears is it's a hangnail. And then she doesn't. I don't know. So maybe the humans need to do a better job triaging it. And if it's literally the hangnail, this girl's got a sliver or whatever, I've got a quick cut to deal with, then maybe AI deals with that. But leave the humans for the humans that actually need it. I don't know. I don't know what the answer is, but it's interesting to think about. But I do not want a fully AI hospital, maybe integrated.
That's what we're looking at. The project that I consulted on, which shall remain nameless because it was painfully unsuccessful. On the mental health side, we were looking at the fact that there's folks that call in just because they're lonely or they have nothing else going on. And does that time take away from the providers who maybe have to deal with someone who's having suicidal ideation or is in an actual crisis or is about to relapse? And we thought that would funnel that down, and it did not.
Yeah, you're right. People do take advantage of these things. Maybe there needs to be more of an app like ChatGPT for people who are lonely, who have low level type questioning or we want to just have a chat compared to like the high level. Again, it's all about triage. How do we know? And I don't know. I don't know what the answer is, Tony.
I'm trying to figure it out and it's not working. So
yeah, I know. Okay, well, let's dive into it here because I am taking a painfully long time going through my topics today. People about self-driving cars. Speaking of AI, automated.
Just a perfect dovetail here. So this company Zoox, which is actually owned by Amazon, but it's kind of its own thing. They have the self-driving taxis. I do some work with a station out of California, so I'm getting some kind of on-the-ground information about this. And the fact that people are completely and utterly freaked out by these self-driving taxis pulling up. So speaking of AI and needing human oversight, so what they're doing now, the second part of the launch, because nobody was utilizing the platform because the car would drive up with nobody in it and people weren't using the taxis.
Terrifying.
So they're paying some poor guy to sit there and pretend to be the driver of the self-driving taxi. What? So that there is a body there so that people will use the service.
Then he might as well have just driven it. He might as well just been a regular taxi.
Right.
What?
And I guess that's to kind of just ease people into the idea, which we had those in Providence for a little while, and it was the same situation. And now, if you know anything about the attitudes of people in New England, they're about to launch these things in Boston. From my own personal experience, people in Boston are not gonna dig this, and that fake driver has no way, only in an emergency can he take over the controls. So say it's has to go 40 miles an hour and people start tailgating, there's no way for that car to speed up. So now that poor guy has to sit there and get the bird and get yelled at.
Yeah.
Not knowing that he has no way to take over from robot taxi.
He's just there to make people more comfortable.
Yep. Just talking about the weather in Boston, probably talking about sports. And
yeah, exactly. The Red Sox.
Seems like a sweet gig for a retiree or, someone looking for a little bit extra money, just
You're
hang out in
right.
the taxi all day, but it could be stressful.
For some lonely guy, his wife passed away. I could
Yeah.
see that, yeah. But like, dang, that is bizarre. The fact that they're paying money for that. Ron says they should put a therapist in there. Yeah, a
Yeah,
robot
double dip.
therapist. No, a real human therapist. That is so
And
interesting.
this
Yeah.
is still one of those things that's in progress because they've had one software recall already, which is not a good sign. And then they had a crash in Las
Oh my
Vegas, of all
God.
places. They started recalling all of those
Uh,
self-driving taxis because that went up on a curb.
this
So
is my fear. You get in one of these self-driving vehicles and they say that's like completely automated, but it's out of your control. Like, how do you know?
yeah.
You don't know what other people are going to do. It can't know every scenario that's ever going to happen. Man, that is,
Even if it's getting data in real
yeah.
time. I mean, here in New England, we are driving on roads that were literally set up for horse and
Right.
buggies, and we're still using those roads today. How is any
Yes.
data set going to pull that in? Or
Yeah.
something like we have Kelly Square in Worcester with 7 different intersections coming
Oh
in.
my gosh. And not to mention, like, people are a little crazy as well, right? Like, everyone's just out here texting and not paying attention. So, yikes. I don't like it. People still don't dig self driving cars. I am people for sure. I'm not into it. I am not into it at all. Have you ever been in one?
How Not yet. No, I was trying to get when they had it in Providence, and it was so short-lived that it was like they set up shop here. I think it was like zero profitability, and they kind of pulled right out. And then Solo and Zooks and a few other companies here were testing the pizza delivery, but of course, people are so lazy that they don't want to walk out
gosh.
to meet the Solo car to grab their pizza out of the back. So there still needs to be that human to walk the pizza up the
my
walkway and bring it to the front of the house.
People
So
can't walk
they're
out
at
to
an
the road to grab it.
people don't
Oh
want
my
it.
gosh. COVID spoiled people, man. That no face to face. Even I'm the same way. When I order food, I just put a note, leave it on my doorstep and knock. Like, don't even knock. I'm watching you. I don't want my dogs to go crazy. I'm watching
Yeah.
my app. I know when you're here. Wild. That's wild. Yeah, lazy America, Ron. You're absolutely right.
But to both of these subjects, it's so interesting to see so many companies piling into these spaces where so far there has been like little to no profitability. But I guess that's a lot of the way that a lot of these things work. But it seems like a staggeringly slow situation for AI. And when you look at what other countries are already doing compared to what we're doing here, it seems like there is a very slim chance of America being the AI hub that it's trying to position
For
itself to
sure.
be.
Yeah, I agree. I really hope that Canada doesn't also try to be the hub because I honestly I hate it. It freaks me out. I want no part in it. I just want to do things on my own. I want to work hard. I want to Google information myself, do the research because all my friends are like, "Oh, hey, here's this information ChatGPT gave me, right?" And it's like, I just want to search it up myself. My kid got caught cheating at school with ChatGPT, gotten a 0 on her assignment. Like,
I do some adjunct work, and sometimes, as I mentioned a few weeks ago, I'm a person who loves to work. So I do some adjunct work, and I will get 6 papers with the exact same phrasing. But it's so pervasive now that if I have 12 students and 6 people in a master's level program have cheated, do we now kick them out of the program because so many people are doing it that you would eliminate half of the school if you decided to actually crack down on the chat GPT in full force.
That's crazy. Like, just the ethics piece of this is wild to me. Crazy. Yeah, that's a tough job. I'm not jealous of your position, that's for sure. So let's get into our very last topic here. It's a doozy. So this comes from 2021. So it's not a news story by any means. And I was gonna, if we had more time, I was gonna do like a bunch of dumb purchases, but I think just because we have no time left, I'm gonna do just this one because it is so dumb that it deserves its own story. So, an Italian artist in 2021 has auctioned off a sculpture for $18,300. Okay, which seems, yeah, that seems like art. Art's pretentious. Art has, people have a lot of money, right? They want to spend this kind of thing. However, this sculpture is invisible and it's literally made of nothing. It's a nothing sculpture.
Oh man.
Yes. So this Italian artist, he set the price at 15,000 euros, so 18,300 American dollars. He was 67-year-old artist. His name is Salvatore Gero. He sold an immaterial sculpture, which is to say, it's a fancy way of saying that it actually does not exist. Immaterial. And all these pretentious art snobs are like, oh, ooh, revolutionary. So the artist.
How did none of these people have to read The Emperor's New Clothes when they were kids?
Yeah, right?
That's what this is. This is The Emperor's New Clothes all over.
I know. You would think, but they don't remember. They have too much money, I guess. So it says the artist might disagree on conceptual grounds. For him, the artwork titled Lo Sono, meaning I am, okay, that's very deep, finds form in its own nothingness. The vacuum, this is a direct quote, the vacuum is nothing more than a space full of energy. And even if we empty it and there is nothing left, according to the Heisenberg uncertainty principle, that nothing has a weight. Therefore,
now the question is, did he use ChatGPT to write that description? Because that sounded
that was 2021, so probably not. He continues to say, therefore, it has energy that is condensed and transformed into particle that is into us. So Lo Sono, the piece, went up for sale in May of 2021 at the Italian auction house called Art Right. The pre-sale estimated value of the piece between 6,000 and 9,000 euro. But competing bidders, Tony, pushed the price to 15,000 euros. The lucky buyer then went home with a certificate of authenticity and a set of instructions. Okay, like this, like take your head, give it a shake, go give some money to the poor because you clearly have too much of it. Okay, so these are the instructions. The work, per the artist, must be exhibited in a private house in a roughly 5 by 5 foot space free of obstruction. That's the instructions. Okay, so you go to someone's house. Oh, come look at my new art. He's got like a big wood stand, a glass box, and you're going, what is it? And it's 5 feet. That's pretty big. That's like a wingspan here. Okay. And you're going, what am I looking at? And they're like, it's nothing. It's immaterial. I spent $18,000 on this. So the sculptor went on to say that when I do an exhibit of an immaterial sculpture in a given space, that space will concentrate a certain amount of and density of thoughts to a precise point, creating a sculpture that, from my title, will only take the most varied forms. Like, I can't even listen to this guy talk. Like, as I'm speaking it, I think, this guy, oh, someone needs to tell this guy, it's not art. You're a scammer. You're honestly a scammer. So he says, if you thought that was an artsy claptrap, he goes on to draw a rather lofty comparison to the work. After all, don't we shape a God we've never seen? Okay, so now he's comparing his artwork to God. So Lo Sono isn't the only artwork of its kind from this guy. In February of 2021, at the Piazza della Scala in Milan, the artist exhibited Buddha in Contemplation, a similarly invisible sculpture demarcated by a square of tape on a cobblestone walkway. Okay. He also installed what he calls Aphrodite Cries in front of the New York City Stock Exchange. It was an empty white circle, and that was it. And it was supported by Italian Cultural Institute. So he says, you don't see it, but it exists. It's made of air and spirit. It's a work that asks you to activate the power of imagination, a power that anyone has, even those who don't believe they have it. So, of course, people on the internet have trouble tapping into that power, probably because they think it's friggin' ridiculous. So you really just taped a square and called it a sculpture. Yeah, that's what this guy is doing. And people are buying it and spending money on it. This guy literally has a career because people are buying into it. So I just thought that was the dumbest thing I've ever read.
When I heard dumb purchases, I was thinking something as humble as my little Funko Pop, my Mr. Rogers Funko Pop, which in my opinion is a dumb purchase. People bought into the fact that these were going to be collectible items. They bought hundreds of them, and they are now worth 99 cents.
I have a decent amount of Funko Pops myself. Yes.
Now, if it is a possibility for past artists to spin in their graves, imagine Sistine Chapel laying on your back for years with a fine brush, painting the Sistine Chapel. And when you look at Wikipedia and you look up artists, this guy is listed right next to people painting the Sistine Chapel.
For this dude, the invisible nothing.
This dude.
The Sistine Chapel. You're right. It's actually offensive. You're right. Like art, okay, art is subjective. It can be anything. Even if it's ugly to you, it might be beautiful to somebody else. Okay, I get that, completely subjective. However, this makes a mockery of actual artists. You know, people who are, you know, art students who desperately want to sell a painting or a sculpture or something they've done to pay their bills. Meanwhile, a guy's getting 18 grand for air. Makes me mad.
There's a slight example of that here in Rhode Island, and that Rhode Island has Rhode Island School of Design, which is one of the top colleges around. Fantastic pieces that these students put together. But at the end of the semester, which is happening right about now, you can actually go to Providence and you can garbage pick as much art as you want, because these kids have to go back for the summer, and all these projects that they worked on all year, sculptures, huge installations, huge paintings, they're not going to fly them back home. They're not going to drive them back home. So they all go out on the curb.
Oh my gosh, really? They don't even try to sell them?
Yeah. You can, at this point, you can get as much free art as you want here in Rhode Island.
Oh my gosh, that's wild. Yeah, that's kind of a slap in the face. I don't know. I would probably try to figure out how to get it home if I was one of those students.
I guess it depends on what you got for a grade, right? If you got a C on it, maybe it goes to the curb, and if you, you know, your class, you bring it home with you. But yeah, there, you know, so many students, they're all art students, it's design school, and yeah, all this stuff heads out to the curb.
I wonder though, are they allowed to sell it because it's technically theirs, or would the Rhode Island school have rights to it because it was in their facility, in their watch? I don't know. Because like if someone went and sold something they made there, I could see Rhode Island Institute being like, nope, that's our profit.
Or where's our cut? Yeah.
Crazy, man. Art is a wild world. So I'm glad you liked that story. It pissed me off when I read it. So I was like, I'm doing it today. So that takes us to 10 after 9 my time, 10 after 11 your time. So we're a little bit over, but that's okay, not crazy. Join us tomorrow. We've got Mr. Kenny here with Ron. That's at 10 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Mountain Time. And then I am back on Thursday with JJ. I don't know when you were back. When are you back?
I'm like we talked about, I have 900 jobs, so I'm in the power rotation for whenever that they need me to sit in this seat and get behind the microphone. So
okay, well, feel free to take my Monday because it is a long weekend here in Canada, and I will be camping. So we'll talk. Okay, anyways, thank you for joining us, everybody. Make sure you check us out on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch, and of course on all our socials. And we will be back tomorrow.